Second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about...
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
English, mother...
Body, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
Let's put a smile on that face.
What's up, film family? Welcome to the Film Room Podcast. My name is Scott.
My name's Dion.
And today we're doing There Will Be Blood, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, the 2007 drama that came out of the drama division of our Real March Madness. But first, if this is your first episode, welcome. We appreciate you for stopping by, saying what's up. What's up? Dion and I, every week we take a movie, we're going to go through it, say what we like, didn't like. And then at the end, we're going to have our Filmies, which is our award show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. That's always a good time. Coming out of the drama division, did you think it was going to win the drama? I mean, we've already talked a little bit about Real March Madness, but now that we're doing this one specifically.
Yeah, specifically where There Will Be Blood, I wasn't sure, to be honest, because it's one of those movies, it's like, and now after seeing it, I kind of knew it was kind of like an artsy kind of movie. I shouldn't say artsy, but in the more of like, I think it's more of like a film person's movie. Mm-hmm. In the sense of like a mainstream kind of movie where it's just like, oh yeah, that's like how we were talking about before with like 21 Jump Street, like those kind of movies where it's like that's a movie that's like kind of like everybody knows. Like I don't know if everybody knows There Will Be Blood. So I think
that's kind of the genre in general though. Like dramas in general are more like movie people movies because there's the entertainment value in a drama isn't necessarily as surface level as like a comedy where they're just cracking jokes, and if it's funny you laugh and you enjoy it, or an action movie where this stuff is really cool to just see stuff exploding and people doing crazy things, you know what I mean? So like you kind of notice that it's more in the smaller details and in the characters and the relationships and stuff like that. I feel like in the genre that would lend itself to being less popular in the casual moviegoer, you know what I mean?
No, I 100% agree. It's definitely like an Oscar type movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not the same type of movie, but it's in the sense of like an Honora or something. You know what I mean? Like it's a drama versus like when people say like, oh, like Wicked's being nominated, or like maybe like The Substance. Like these are like mainstream things. People are making clips about them and people talk about them. They have like big actors in them and stuff like that. Or I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is a big actor, but in the sense of, or maybe it's a better comparison is what's the Timmy movie? Oh, The Complete Unknown. Like it's just like that's not like a mainstream like, oh, everyone's gonna go see the Bob Dylan movie. It's like, well, Bob Dylan fans, and someone's like, oh, it looks like an interesting drama. Let me go watch that kind of thing. I feel like it falls into that kind of category.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So this was our first time watching the movie.
Yep.
What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it, honestly. Like when I came into it, I didn't really know what to expect. Like especially based off the title, like There Will Be Blood. I actually thought it was like a revenge movie. Like I knew it was about like the oil business and stuff like that, but just again, the title is like There Will Be Blood. It's all like a menacing ass title. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like kind of a movie that kind of leans into like, oh, it's gonna be this oil company versus this oil company, and like who will get the last kind of thing, you know what I mean? And but I really enjoyed it. I think the style of storytelling is definitely more, as we were kind of just talking about, is more like character than plot, in the sense of like it doesn't like lean into something like our last episode we just previously did was Train to Busan. It's like the movie's about like them making their way to Busan. This movie wasn't about like specifically, it didn't start off saying like I'm gonna be the biggest like oil person. Like it doesn't come out and say that, or it's not like I will make it when I get here. It's just like we're following this guy and let's see his journey. Let's see where it goes. We're not telling you where it's going. We're not leading you. He doesn't have like the specific goal that he said that he wants to do. And I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think again, in the genre, like in the drama thing, it's less about plot and more about characters, and I enjoyed it a lot as well. I think it's a good point that you said that he's not coming out being like, okay, this is about this guy's journey from a solo miner. Basically, he starts out he's just mining by himself and building his way up to like one of the biggest oil men in the country. I guess that's the way the movie's going, but it's not really just about that. It's more about his character and the way he manipulates people and like just the piece of shit that he is.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really interesting. Like the way they kind of like he's a terrible, diabolical person.
Oh yeah.
But I like the whole first half of the movie. He seems empathetic. He seems like he's got redeeming qualities. Like that's what I found was so interesting. Like his character on the surface has been done a bunch of times. Like you have a businessman that's just totally ruthless and doesn't care about anybody but himself. That's been done 1,000 times in movies. Yeah. But I think the way that they portrayed in this movie, where having him at the start, like he gets the baby and he starts taking care of the baby. So I'm like, oh, this is a good guy. You know, he's taking care of this baby, and the way he's talking to people, he's like, oh, we're going to bring all this, the good stuff to the town, where we're going to prioritize education and agriculture, and we're going to bring all this stuff. I was like, okay, this is a good guy. He's going to build up this town and everything. And then like the whole second half of the movie, you see what he becomes, and it's like, oh, it just threw me for a loop. It was a good, I don't even want to call it a twist, but I think just the way that they showed the character, the way that they lean you this way and then take you in another direction. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's funny you say that too, because I was thinking the same thing too, where I was like, there is some like the shocking moments and twists in that, but like, yeah, I don't know if I would say that, because I was thinking the same thing too, where I was like, I don't know if I would say that the way his character changed was a twist. It was just like, you just saw how it, like the development of it. It wasn't like he was the whole time he was hiding it, and then there's a moment where he just switched. You just slowly saw him kind of like turn into it, and then slowly like get worse and worse throughout the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even like at this, when he goes to the Sunday ranch for the first time, and he's like, he finds the oil, and his son's like, oh, you're gonna try and buy this place? Like, how are you gonna deal with them? And he's like, well, I'm not gonna give him the oil price. I'm gonna give him the quail price.
Yeah.
So that's like a little nugget. He's like, okay, he's gonna try and take advantage of him a little bit, but it's nothing too crazy. Like it's just a negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the way that they move forward with his character, I thought was really cool. One thing I noticed too was like the constant use of like tension building music.
Yeah.
Like, but again, I think it's not odd, but it's unique in the sense that like a lot of times it doesn't go anywhere. And I kind of like that in the sense where it's like they have this tension building up when he's getting mad or something, and you're like, oh, what is he going to do? Is he going to do anything crazy? And then he kind of doesn't. So it's kind of like the boy that cried wolf. So every time the music starts playing, you're kind of diffused and you're like, okay, maybe he's not going to do anything. And then when he does do something, then you're like, oh shit. Like it almost makes it feel even crazier.
Also, that's a good point. No, it's not something that I even like clocked. I was like, but as you're mentioning now, it's like, yeah, it is true, because there was, I did notice a lot of the score, and like there was some tension building, and sometimes it did lead into things, but I didn't think about the moments when it built and then there actually didn't. We just got like a fade to like a film dissolve, and then we went into the next scene. It's like, oh, okay, I thought something was gonna happen there.
But I think it's a good way to like throw us off as the audience. You know what I mean?
No, I 100% agree, and it's interesting too, because like I've been watching, like I think when you go into a movie, there's obviously the expectations of what you're getting into, and again, heard it was a good movie, didn't have any expectations of exactly like what people were like, oh, like you got to go see this movie because of this. Like everyone's like, the only thing was like, yo, There'll Be Blood, good movie, go check it out. And again, we're talking about like how this movie is very character based, and I haven't watched a movie like that like in a while probably, and it's kind of a good timing too, because I've been watching, like, I don't know if you ever heard of the show Mad Men.
Yeah,
you familiar with the show Mad Men? And Mad Men kind is very much like this, where I was like, okay, it's about these ad guys, and I've never watched it, so I wasn't sure. It's like an AMC show, like Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, like Walking Dead, those kind of shows. I'm like, okay, I know those kind of shows. And Breaking Bad's kind of similar to this kind of movie in that kind of style too, where it's you're slowly seeing a character move along. And Mad Men's really like that too. And I also, when I watched the first season of Mad Men, I was kind of like, man, the show's kind of like, it's kind of slow, but it's kind of just like, it's that structure. It's like, here's Don Draper, like the main character. I'm not going to go too much into the show, but just as a comparison for those that know. And like, he's an ad man. Here's his wife. Here's his work. It kind of just shows you everything, like really basically, okay. And then it's just like, and then things start happening and like it slowly builds and you get all this character and you kind of understand these relationships and then things start happening. It's like, oh, okay, you just got to be a little more patient. It's definitely like you got to be patient to appreciate this movie. Like you're not gonna jump in and be like, oh man, like the first 30 minutes are not gonna have you like at the edge of your seat, like, okay, where are we going here? You kind of just gotta like, all right, let me just see where this is going.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think like you're right. The start of it, like the first 15 minutes, there's not even any like sound. But well, there's sound of what they're doing, but there's no talking.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah, there hasn't a single character that talks for the first 15 minutes. And I thought that was, I don't know, it had me locked in. I was just like, this is so enjoyable. Like seeing this guy go. I mean, we might as well talk about it right now as we're going, but like he's mining for the silver. He's by himself. He breaks his leg. And then we see him, okay, he makes some money off the silver. So he moves up to the next big thing. He starts getting into the oil and he starts to hire some people around him and they struck oil. And you're just seeing the process of the mining and like how he started from scratch to where he's going. But I thought like the choice to have no dialogue, you don't really need it.
Yeah.
It worked.
No, I agree. And I was gonna say that's the first thing, and if you're watching the movie and you're paying attention, you'll notice it too. But it's just like, when I was watching, like, oh, like there's just not gonna be like any talking for like a little bit. We're just gonna watch this guy. I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. I thought it was an interesting choice too, and I feel like it works too. You know 100%. What I mean? It's just like it has you like curious. I'm like, okay, what's happening? Is something about to happen? Is that why it's quiet? Like it just has you so intrigued because you're like, okay, there's no talking. Like what's about to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so before we get into the rest of the movie, though, I had the question that we popped up on our Instagram, and I did think of a name for this.
Okay.
And I wanted to get your thoughts. Like, we have the whole film family thing. So is this like our family meeting or a family discussion?
Oh, I like that. The family meeting? Family meeting. I like that. The family meeting.
We throw up the question and then whoever in the family has a point to bring up or a question to ask, now's the time. It's the family 100%. Meeting.
Yeah, we're about to eat before anyone got to say
exactly.
I got like that. It's a family meeting.
All right, 100%. Time for the family meeting.
Yeah.
So we have Eric E. Kingsbury on Instagram that we actually went to high school with.
Yeah.
And I went to elementary school with him, so I've actually known him a really long time. So shout out to you, Eric. What's up?
Yeah, shout out Eric. Yeah.
He said,
say what your prompt is. The prompt.
Oh, true. Well, what did I ask? I said thoughts on this one for two guys that haven't seen it to discuss. Yeah. So I just want to let people know that we didn't. I mean, if you want to throw spoilers in there, don't worry because we don't go and read it until after we've seen the movie.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about spoilers, don't worry about that. So he asked, curious whether you think Paul Dano is playing two different characters or just one.
Well, what are your okay, I guess I'll go my thoughts first. At first, when it first happened, I thought it was the same guy because I was like, just the and I honestly, I think it is the same guy, but I don't know if I'm off on that. Like, what did you think?
I kind of thought by seeing, like, just watching the movie that it was the same guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, because he benefit, like, so when Paul comes and he tells Daniel about the oil fields, he sells the information, so he gets money there. And then you have Eli, who's the priest over there, and then he starts getting money from this too. So he's benefiting on both sides. So I thought it was a way for him to basically trick him into coming here. But at the same time, he doesn't actually need to trick him.
Yeah.
Like he could have just been Eli. And afterwards in research, I found out that it's two different people.
Oh, it actually is.
Yeah. So basically, I have it written down here.
Okay. Yeah.
So Paul Dano was originally cast as just Paul, like just the small role of the guy that comes and he tells him about the oil fields. That was his only role. And they had a different guy that was playing Eli, but he had some issues with PTA. They were disagreeing on stuff.
I did see that. Yeah. And Daniel Day-Lewis, right, too, because he said he was intense.
Yeah, I read that, but I also read that Daniel Day-Lewis said that wasn't true. So like maybe they also had beef, because obviously he's not just going to say, yeah, I was beefing this guy. So he
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, he's the one that's saying that he wasn't intense. That's
exactly. So maybe with Daniel Day-Lewis, but apparently like definitely with PTA.
Okay.
So they replaced him with Dano and So
Interesting.
and then they were
Okay.
like, okay, we're just gonna like change the story and make them twins, but
Mhm.
Paul never comes back. We never see
Yeah.
him again. So like I don't know.
And there's no reference of him at all, too.
Yeah.
He's like, I have my twin brother, Paul, anything. That's what confused me about it. And to me, it was the initial interaction where it's just like when he comes to see them and he shakes his hand, he shakes their hand. He's like, I'm Eli, and he's like, oh yeah, and then he goes to his son, he's Eli, and he's like, and the way he asked, the way he's like, so you guys are hunting for quail, huh? It sounded like very much like I know what you're really
Suspicious.
doing. Yeah, so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm that guy that you saw earlier. Like that's what it felt like. So I was like, okay, this is the same guy pretending to be someone else. Why? I don't know.
And Daniel looks at his son too, like he just kind of stares at him for a second. He's like, this
Yeah.
is the same guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
why? Like, am I tripping? This is the same guy
Yeah.
that, yeah. But I don't know. Like, I feel like why? Like, I was actually thinking about this earlier. I was like, I almost changed my lazy award. Why didn't they just recast Paul? It's such a small role.
Yeah,
If you're
I
gonna
know.
put Paul Dano in this bigger role as Eli,
Mhm.
just recast the tiny role of Paul
Yeah, I don't know.
and
Yeah,
don't do the twin thing.
100%. I agree with you. Because, yeah, that kind of put me on a loop when I was watching the movie. It's not that serious where it's just like I'm
Yeah.
scratching my head the whole movie, but I was kind of just like, in that moment, I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to tell us later. Or maybe we're going to see Paul again later.
Yeah.
And then we don't. So
And
I'm
we
like,
don't.
I'm like,
And he's
okay,
just
I
like,
guess.
okay, I guess.
All right.
Sure.
Where did he go? What did he do with the money? I don't know.
Yeah, because he got gypped. He got like what $1,000 out of it,
Yeah.
and Eli got loads of money. I mean, well, but I guess maybe ultimately it didn't work out for Eli.
Yeah, no, true. Did he get a 500 actually?
Well, he asked for 500.
Yeah.
He asked for 500 on the spot, and
Mhm.
Daniel said, "I'll give you 100 now, and if what you're saying is true, if I go there and I find oil, I'll give you 1,000
Yeah, but then when did that transaction ever happen? When
off
did you-
screen." I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
We just don't see it.
I guess
but-
so. I also find it funny how like Daniel Day-Lewis's character is named Daniel, and then Paul's character is also named Paul.
Yeah,
They
that's
went
true.
it's real names. I don't know.
Do you think that was like on purpose or is it just?
Well, maybe
and-
with the Daniel
I don't know.
Day-Lewis because like I saw that PTA actually had him in mind for the role,
Right.
and that
Yeah.
character that he made up is like not actually in the book. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess he made him even, but why? I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Every time I was writing down Daniel, it felt like I was doing the lazy thing where I was like, I'm not gonna write down the character's name. It's just Leo or
I
Brad
know.
Pitt. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like. But I'm like, no, his character's actually name was Daniel
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, 100%. We had one more. We had our Riley.
Oh yeah,
It's just Riley
3
spelled
L's, 3 Y's.
yeah, a whole bunch of yeah. So yeah, he responded, maybe watch it. And I'm gonna take the blame on that. I guess I worded it a little weird because
Yeah.
I actually responded to him. I was like, "Well, we're about to, we're about to watch it, and that's the point of the question." And we actually went back and forth for a little bit. I assumed he was just kind of trolling, just like
Yeah, I thought he
troll.
was just making a joke.
Yeah, but we actually went back and forth for a while, and he ended up, we talked about for a little bit. He said he's a big fan of the movie, and he said, "I'm a big fan of what y'all do. So if there's any way I can support, and so appreciate you, man." I just said,
appreciate that.
just keep listening. We appreciate anybody just for listening,
Yeah,
reaching out,
100%.
giving us your thoughts, telling your friends, any of that stuff. We really appreciate it. So
Yeah, no,
shout to you,
100%.
Riley.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Started out with a roast or a little,
And now we're here, yo.
and now he's a good friend of ours.
He's part of the family, yo.
Riley, yo, I thought it was like mustard with Kendrick. Riley.
Oh, that's good. And that ends our family.
The family meeting. Yeah.
Is that what we said? Family meeting? Family discussion? I already
I
forgot
don't
what
know.
we named
Yeah,
it.
we got to pick one.
We have to go back and listen and see what we actually called it.
So you mentioned it was based on a book.
Yeah.
The book is called Oil!
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
Oh, I didn't realize there's an exclamation
Yeah,
point.
so I had to yell. it. It's a 1927 novel.
Yeah.
And it's loosely based because I actually looked into the book a little bit, and basically the book has way more to
Yeah.
the story, which is understandable. A movie, there's less
Only
that you
so
can
much.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's a little runtime's not crazy long, but there's a longer runtime for this
True.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the differences, like the son is actually the main character.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
like you mentioned, the names are different, but so from the movie's perspective, HW is the main character, and it explores a lot of his relationship with Mary, who's like the daughter of the Sunday family.
Yeah.
that we see a tiny bit of them in this movie, but
Yeah.
not much. They explore that much more in the book. And it adds conflict between Daniel and the workers, because in the movie when the worker dies in the well, and they pick him up, clean him up, and then they kind of just move past it. But in the book, the workers start striking.
Oh, okay.
So it adds that whole conflict to it.
That's interesting. I was wondering about that too. Like because obviously in the movie they're kind of displaying like how dangerous this job is, and like if people can die, people get hurt all the time because it's just like dangerous working conditions. But yeah, part of me was thinking, I was like, people are just cool with just working the next day. You know what I mean? Man just died, and it's like, all right, we're gonna stop for a little bit. No, we're not gonna work it until like later on, and then everyone just kept going back to work. I don't know. I guess.
I mean, maybe they did stop for a couple days, and they just don't really show us that.
Yeah,
I think Daniel does say in the moment, he says like shut it down till morning or something. So
yeah, till like midday or matinee or something like that. Yeah, I guess
give him a little bit of time. But
I guess it's just one of those things too, where it's not like what their process, and from what we know, they've been doing this for a while. It's not like it was that Daniel did. A guy died, and he's like, "Hey, just go back to work." You know what I mean? Like it was an accident. He wasn't even there for like the main one that I'm thinking of, where they had to dig the guy out, and then it's just like he showed empathy. So it's not like I guess there's no real reason for them to strike. I don't know how in the book that it was handled, that maybe they were like, what the heck? You're just acting like this guy didn't just die, and then they go on strike kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't read the book, but but it results in a strike. But I don't know, like whoever got to work down in the oil, that guy's got to be making extra money, right?
Oh, I hope so.
He's got the worst job. He's got the worst job on the rig, bro. All the other people up top, like, sure, they're still working hard, but like they don't have a threat of a big piece of metal dropping on their head.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And also just like I don't actually know what what's it called, the repercussions are for being down there,
just
but like
breathing that
can't
shit
be it can't be healthy to have your body just you're like soaking in oil, like like you're in a freaking hot tub, and you're just breathing that shit in. You're probably getting in your mouth and your ears and stuff like that. Like that can't be healthy. I'm sure they didn't know at the time how bad it was.
I mean, the guy was smoking down there, which is also insane.
That's what I was thinking too. They know about that. They know about that fire oil, no good. Like, I don't understand why he was smoking down there, but whatever.
But if you give me that job, I'm like, I gotta get paid more than the guys upstairs.
Oh, 100%.
He must be. How do you even get in? And I guess there's a ladder, but like, damn, crazy. All right. Did you have anything else before we jump back into the plot? I guess because we kind of.
Oh yeah. No, we could just jump right into it.
All right. So we talked about like the first 15 minutes. Kind of, we discover his way working and his way up by himself. No talking. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And then we get the scene with Paul. He comes to sell the info on the Sunday Ranch and all the oil around there. This is a pretty short scene, but I thought it was actually really interesting. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was really excellent because we get Paul coming in, and it's like this is where we get a little bit of the Daniel's character, where we sense that like he's more established and everything, and he doesn't want both these guys are playing like a game of chicken. It's just like, I'm not going to give you the money, tell me information, and he's like, I'm not an idiot. I know how this works. Like, I know how much money you can make from this. I know I'm not going to get anywhere close to that money, but you're not going to crazy lowball me. So like. They just keep going back and forth doing that little dance. I thought that was interesting. But what would you like about it?
Yeah, Paul was a great character for such a short scene that he had, and like you're right. Like the line where he's just like, "This would be a lot better if you didn't take me for an idiot."
Yeah,
that was tough.
That was tough.
I almost made that my quote. It's not. Maybe it's yours, but like he was tough as shit. Yeah, like you're right. He comes in and he knows he's like, okay, obviously you're not gonna give me like half the earnings on this, but like you're offering me like $400, nah, or $200 or whatever. You can't. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, which I don't know. Which I don't blame him. And I remember I was looking up too, because I was like, how much is like, because you're always thinking about the inflation, like how much is that worth? Because you're seeing the amounts, and I'm like, I don't know how much that is, but like when they're throwing
11.
Yeah, when they're throwing out numbers like 1,000, like 10,000, I saw that like 10,000 would be like 100,000 or stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, like it's still even at the time too. I remember even he was saying like I make like $5,000 a week.
That's a lot now.
Yeah, it's a lot now. So I was like, in 1902, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's insane.
Crazy, bro. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like all the numbers, I didn't look up the inflation, but I
Yeah.
I did like think of it, and I was like, okay, this sounds like a lot. I just know that it's way more. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm impressed now. I'll just take it as I know it's way more. This is very impressive. I mean, we see like he builds a whole city, and his mansion at the end of it. He has a bowling alley in his house. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy's getting rich.
Yeah, I just looked it back up. $5,000 a week in 1902 would be 180,000
Jesus.
a week.
Jesus. I mean, he's not pocketing all of that, but like,
Yeah, no, yeah, because it's all
still.
going right back into the business and stuff like
Yeah.
that, just to milk more like oil
And he's
rigs,
got to pay his
all that.
guys. And,
Yeah, but that's still a lot of money though.
oh, 100%. Yeah.
A week is
100%.
crazy.
So then he goes to the ranch. Yeah, he finds the oil, and he makes his pitch to the people of the area.
Mhm.
Big fucking bread guy.
Oh yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
He's like, he says, what did he say? I think I wrote it down here. It's an abomination for, for, for a man, woman, or child in this great country to look upon bread as a luxury.
Yeah, I know.
Big bread guy.
Yeah, big bread guy. And he asked for bread later too, man. He's a big. And do we ever really even see him eat bread?
I don't
see
think
we
we
eat him
do.
steak and potatoes,
Yeah.
but we never we never see he's a big bread guy. Big bread guy. I like the little speech that he does too, because it's obviously like a masterclass in manipulation, because he's doing the whole like it's like, I'm an oil man, like I'll be honest with you, like it tells everyone like how he's gonna help the community. And we talked about that too, where it's just like, okay, like this guy seems like a good guy. He just wants to. He's telling what he's doing. He's not lying to the people. Like when he does his speech and everything, it's very planned out. This speech, he's practicing the mirror definitely many times.
Well, we saw him do it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
To this other location, and then they drive him out. But this is obviously a practice speech that he's done a bunch of times. And you're right, it's a masterclass in manipulation. But he was even manipulating me as an audience member, because that's what I was saying. I was like, this seems like a good guy.
No, 100%.
and he this is why he has HW, right? We saw that he takes care of the baby because his dad dies earlier on. So he starts taking care of the baby, and he's like, this is my son. This is a family business. And like, I was like, okay, this is a nice guy. This is who I would want to lease my land to.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it works. It works. It's
no,
perfect.
100%. And there's the one thing too, like obviously he's taking care of HW because like the guy died, right? But like I'm wondering, like, is the story that he was telling actually true? Like, did the mom actually die at birth?
No, I don't think so.
So where is the mom?
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Like, where was she the rest of the movie? It's like, okay, husband dies. I'm gonna take care of this kid. Okay, well, can't the mom take care of the kid? Did she actually die at birth? We actually
maybe.
something we never really get. Not like saying, it's just not shitting on the movie or anything, but it's just something I thought about. I'm like, oh, where was the mom? Was that actually truth? Because now you don't know what to believe with this guy.
Yeah, because maybe he's such a piece of shit that he like killed the mom or something. I doubt it, but
yeah,
like,
I know. But yeah, true. I don't
maybe.
know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I also wanted to shout out. There's a shot right before the speech. He's sitting in like an office, and he's like leaning against the window, like he's sitting on the windowsill, and behind the window is like a gloomy kind of dusk. Behind him. I thought it looked pretty cool. You kind of see his silhouette, and then he comes in to do the speech. It was a cool shot.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there's a lot of good shots in this movie.
No,
actually.
there is a lot of good shots too. And that's what I was going to talk about, just like the patient filmmaking, which is, again, that's something, again, that you get from like dramas. And like when I'm watching this movie, I instantly just start thinking of like all the others. And so if there's a running gag on the show, I'm the Gladiator hater. But I'll give like Ridley Scott. You know what it is? It's not like something that like you don't still see today. It's just like when patient filmmaking usually only gets done by like the notorious or the known directors, because it's like people will be patient with them. You know, if you're a new director and you're gonna do something slow and like maybe melodic, and like, hey, take a look at this shot, no one's gonna talk for a little bit. Some people aren't gonna have the patience for you. But if you're like Nolan and you're gonna do Oppenheimer, and I'm like, we're gonna have like this shot where we're gonna hold and look at the mountains for like 30 seconds, everyone will be like, just admire it. But if it's someone up and coming, dude, they're like, what the hell? What was that 30-second shot? You know what I mean? It's like completely.
Yeah, we're gonna have 85
perspective.
shots of Cillian Murphy just close up with his hand on his forehead, contemplating. It's gonna be great. I think that's probably studios though. Like, there's probably a lot of filmmakers that like want to do that stuff, but like the studios are like, pick up the pace. Come on, we gotta get
but that's
to
what
the
I
story.
mean. Like you have to have that. Like nowadays, it's tough to get that.
Yeah,
to get that thing. I think I think we'll see it in Coogler's new film in Sinners. I bet you we'll get a lot of that. I think he's earned that right.
Yeah,
to have some patient filmmaking.
Yeah,
I think so.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out in a couple.
I
weeks.
like nice prediction. I like that. All right, so then Eli comes in. He wants to bless the well while they start building the city, and then Daniel just like spits in his face and does it himself.
Yeah.
And like he grabs the girl. This confused me a little bit. Why did he do that?
I was thinking that too. I was like, yeah, why not? Like he didn't even say how. He said it wasn't going to be long too. He's like, it'll just be nice and short. I'm going to do it. And then I was waiting for it. I was like, do we miss it? Like, did he do it before? Because part of me was thinking, I was like, there's no way he's not. Because I'm still on his side. I'm still on Daniel's side at this point. But he's a good guy. He's a good, wholesome. He's a family man.
Yeah.
And he wants to help his community out. And maybe I was like, okay, that's weird. They did the prayer off script, like, but I mean, off scene, like, but it didn't happen. And by the way, you saw Paul's face, or sorry, Eli's face. You were like, oh, I guess he didn't do it. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, the only relationship that Daniel allows to publicly show that he's not about is the relationship with Eli in the church. And then we get this moment later in the movie where he's like, he complains about the church being there. It's taking rest hours away from his workers. He's like, they work 12-hour shifts. They need to be well rested. And them coming to church is eating into that. But I mean, this was the start. Like the well hadn't even started yet. Was this kind of already what he was foreseeing? He's like, this is just going to distract my guys and I want to get the church out of here. Is that why he beefed the church?
No, it's a good question. And that actually goes into something that I was researching about, because another thing I liked about this movie too, like I forgot to mention it earlier, is like whenever I watch a movie and it's about like a profession or a niche that I'm not familiar with, I'm always locked in. It obviously has to be interesting, but I'm always locked in because it's like, I don't know anything about this. So like, I'm going to watch this movie and I'm going to follow these characters, and I'm also going to learn something. Like I don't know anything about the oil business, or especially how the oil business was. And apparently that back in the day, like there was a lot of real conflict between the oil men and the religious leaders, because both of them are vying for the power, like in these communities, right? Like in those communities, they're like the pastors and the churches, like they're trying to have build that strong community, and then the oil people are coming in and they're trying to like overshadow with their presence of like, hey, I'm gonna come in and help you. Like the church is saying, I'm gonna help you through God. Is like, I'm gonna help you guys with money. You know what I mean? So like it's that conflict that apparently was like a big thing back in the day, and that's why this was such a big part of this movie. And I think Daniel not letting him pray was kind of him like I don't know, putting his chest out a little bit. It's like,
yeah,
this is my place now.
Yeah,
like it was your place, but we're not doing the prayers before. Right. This is what we do now.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And you're right. I always like that too, when there's like that sense of real life of something that I don't know. Is like, oh, cool, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, like it's a movie, so it's not like 100% factual. This probably isn't exactly, but like, the way that they built the rigs and they had a guy in the bottom in the pit, I'm sure all that is real.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And the conflict between the church and oil, I didn't know, but when you lay it out like that, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I didn't know it either too. So when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, that does make sense, because it's like it's very conflicting. Like one is like and especially in the church's eyes, and to a certain extent, it's true. It's like these guys are all about money, and like greed is a sin. You know what I mean? So it's like these guys are trying to use that greed to get to people, and the church is trying to push people away from that. You know what I mean? So it's like it's very conflicting, like morals. So you can see why there'd be so much like tension between the oilmen and the churches in the community.
At least outward facing morals, because the church has always wanted money too.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And in this movie, he does that as well. They renovate, build a new church. By the end of it, he's trying to sell land and get money and everything. So like, at least from the outward perspective, the public eye, you're right. They're like, we don't need money. We don't need greed. We just need God. But they're bullshitting.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So then we get a scene in the church. Eli kicks the arthritis ghost out of church.
Yeah.
Dano's went all in on this performance.
He did.
Bro. He
Man.
was, as long I have this written as long as I have teeth, I will bite you. If I have none, I will gum you. What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was actually kind of. I was dying when he said the gum you thing. I was like, okay. And everyone was into it. He's like, get out of here, ghost. Which to me, I'm like, hey, I'm all for getting rid of spirits. You know what I mean? Do your things with like exorcisms, like all that stuff. But for arthritis, like what? I wish we got a follow up with Shorty like 3 days later, but like, yo, I still,
my
because
hand's still
arthritis
messed up.
isn't going nowhere. I mean, like the Lord can help you with maybe like your rough times, maybe your depression, your anxiety, maybe like some prayer, some gratitude, all that stuff. But your arthritis, like that's just your body. You know what I mean? Like he is not God. It's not like you broke your leg and he's gonna heal it. He's gonna put mud on your eyes and you can see. Like he's just a vessel for the Lord. So I don't know why they think he could get rid of her arthritis.
I mean, this is what they believed at that time, though.
I guess
they were
so.
like, this is. I mean, because medicine was barely even a thing at that time, right? Like a lot of medicine was bullshit then too. They were just like
100%.
throw some spice on it, drink some ginger ale, and you'll be fine. You know, they don't know what the hell they're doing in medicine either. So, you know, they believe that, this guy's a healer and he heals through God and he'll just throw arthritis out by gumming it and it's going to be great.
But the tough thing about that one is I'm like, yo, Paul, you got to pick your battles because arthritis isn't the one. She's going to come back in like 3 days and she's still going to be in pain. You know what I mean? Like emotional things, like those kind of things, maybe. But like arthritis is like, she is going to feel that pain still. And what are you going to tell her? I wish we got it's not that kind of movie, but I wish we got a follow-up because it would have been like, yo, so the arthritis you took, I think the ghost is still here, Father. Like,
Can you try that again? Can you gum them a little harder, maybe? Get your teeth back. Use your teeth. The gums not working.
Didn't work. Yeah.
Then we get the explosion at the well.
Yeah.
HW gets deafened. I mean, that's his own fault. Why is he? What is he doing up there? And then there's a little moment, like we get little nuggets of Daniel being like, yeah, he's not a great guy, but like it's not pushing it over the edge yet.
Yeah.
But like I did get it in this moment where like he kind of doesn't care that much about HW. He goes and gets him and then he runs back and he's like excited. He's like, oh, look at all this oil that we have. We have an ocean of oil. I was like, this guy, his son just got fucked up.
Yeah, I know. I agree because there's a little bit of that too. Because when it first happens, I'm like, what is he rushing about? Is he rushing about like, was he even going there because did he even know HW was over there? Like he just woke up and he ran over there, and then he's like, okay, hand him to me.
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. I at that point I was still kind of mixed. I'm like, is he really concerned about him? And I was still a little bit with him too because he put him down and he's like, wait here, like. You're safe now that I know that you're safe. I can go deal with this because the fact I think it was important at least for like to like still have us on the edge of like thinking like I don't know is having him hold him and take him himself. It wasn't like, hey, grab my son. I'm gonna go deal with this thing. You know what I mean? It's like no, I'm gonna deal with my son. Okay, stay here. You're safe. Now I'm gonna go deal with that. So it felt a little genuine. Where he put himself to actually like take care to bring him to a safe space.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I agree with you. I was also mixed. I was like, I'm not sure because like the shots right after this, he's like holding his son. Yeah. And HW is like, like he's trying to make noise and like because he can't hear, obviously. I don't know. It's just something he's going through. And Daniel starts to get a little frustrated. He's like, that's enough. And he keeps doing it. And I thought I was like, is he gonna like hit him or something? Or like really yell and be like, all right, like shut up. But he doesn't do that. Like he's still lying with him. So I was like, okay, maybe, he does care about his son. So I was still a little mixed. And you're right. He does he deals with his son first. Then he goes back for to deal with the explosion and everything. So I was like, okay, I still think he's probably a pretty decent guy, but it gave me a little inkling of pause.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about too during that too, I was like, oh man, he's poor HW. I was like, there's no way they knew how to deal with deaf people at that time.
No.
Like a medical, just the way medical was back then and everything. I'm like, they have people like climbing in oil and just handing it up. I was like, there's no way they knew how to like help deaf people. And like, I don't even know what like schooling was like too. That was something I looked into seeing. And like, apparently, especially in those times, like there wasn't much like
Yeah.
education. I was even surprised that they had someone that was doing like sign language and stuff like that. Like I wasn't sure how far sign language was as like in like this culture at that point. Like I wasn't sure if that was like something that popped up like I don't know, like maybe later on like the 30s, the 40s, like because personally I don't know anybody that's deaf, so I don't know.
Hmm.
I've never even
Yeah.
looked into it.
I mean,
Never really
yeah,
thought
it's
about it.
definitely not as wide, or definitely wasn't as wide as it is now, for
Yeah.
sure. Just like accessibility in general was
Hmm.
nothing back then.
Yeah.
So it's basically, if you have this disability, here's how you can deal with it. But
Yeah.
like I thought maybe I was like, oh, is his dad gonna learn it? He never even bothers to try and learn it.
Yeah.
So he ends up having this guy that's his translator basically.
Hmm.
But I'm sure it existed at the time, and he has all this
Yeah.
money, so he just has to find. So it's easy, I feel like, to find someone to come teach him,
No, for sure. One
just
thing that
money
was,
wise.
yeah, 100%. One thing that was cheesing me about it is how many times he just straight up just talked to him. Like, yo, he cannot
I
hear
know.
you. And it's not even like talking slowly, like, I am go. He's just talking normally. I'm like,
Yeah.
dog, he got deaf like 3 days ago. You think he can read lips already? Like, stop
Yeah.
trying to talk to him straight up. Like,
I was like, start using like symbols. Like he's like, you stay here. I'm like, just use your hands. Just be
yeah.
like point, like you stay here. You know what I mean? Like it's like, at least try. Like, don't just, use your hands, try and do some symbols, like help HW understand what you're trying to tell them.
100%. Like Eloise came in and she walked into the movie late. So she was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch. Like, tell me kind of what happened. And I was like, okay, this happened. And then when she was seeing those scenes, I was like, is the son educated? I'm like, I don't know why. She's like, can he read? I'm like, I think so. He seems pretty educated. Like he kind of knows the business and everything. I'm like, why aren't they just like writing on paper to talk to
That's
each
a good
other?
point
I
too.
was like,
Yeah.
I have no idea why they're not.
Yeah.
We see the kid read later the diary, so I'm like, clearly he can read.
That's
I
true.
don't know why they're not using pen and paper.
Yeah. That's a great point. Great point, Eloise. Just write it
Yeah.
down. What are they doing?
Made it so much more complicated to communicate.
I'll shout out another shot though, at the explosion.
Yeah, yeah.
Anytime you have a dark, like black nighttime field and then a
Oh,
giant
yeah.
fire, it just looks sick. And you
Yeah.
get the silhouette of Daniel like lying down, and as the oil spraying, it's sick.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And the fact that it's real too. Like that was a real controlled
Mm,
fire. I don't know
I
if you
didn't know
saw
that.
that.
No.
Yeah, like no special effects or anything. I mean, it's like 2007, so like I mean, they could still do those stuff now. I think it's not as like well like looked upon to do giant fires and explosions just because like you fuck up an environment depending like what you're
Yeah.
doing if you're burning down trees and stuff like that. But like they built a fully functional rig, which I thought was kind of funny too, because just like making it fully functional, like it could
Yeah,
have just been
it
like
doesn't need to be.
it doesn't need to be fully functional. It could just be the shape and everything and do the motions, but
Yeah.
made it fully functional. I'm like, okay. And then they burnt it down. That's why it's also funny to me. Why
Mm.
you made it fully functional and then burnt it down?
You know what always interests me, or something that I always think of at a time like this in a movie, because I kind of, I didn't know it was real, but I kind of assumed it would be, just because
Yeah.
like I feel like it's easier just to do it real in that
Yeah.
sense. Um, and it makes me think like that was probably one of the last shots that they
Oh
shot.
yeah.
One of the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
scenes, because like there's no way they built this oil rig, burned it down, and then rebuilt it to do the scenes for
Yeah, no, it's
and the oil
true.
rig. So they would have done all the oil rig scenes, got those out of the way, and then just burnt it down right at the end. I don't know.
Oh,
Even though it's in
100%.
the middle of the movie, it doesn't affect absolutely anything. It's no film analysis. It's just something I think of.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And like to go to add on to your point too, I always find like I always appreciate when like anything gets done real. Like obviously I don't want to like see people get hurt or anything like for real because oh it looks so good or whatever. Or like or see like certain things get messed up. But if it's like okay, that building was already gonna be like destroyed, so
Mhm.
destroy for a movie, all right, cool or whatever. Like this thing was gonna get like burnt down, sure, whatever. But I always think about like just you only get one shot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's say you burn that down and it doesn't burn properly or whatever. Cause like the way it looked like there was smoke going to the side and everything, the way it like perfectly, like the fire just went up. Like, what if like it burnt and then just went down really fast? And it's like, oh, damn, we wanted to hold that shot for a little longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess it's realistic though.
Yeah.
Like because if it is a real fire, like however the fire would burn in real life is however it would burn in real life.
No,
So like you put
100%.
it in the movie and it's realistic. But you're
And
right, like almost. But in movies, sometimes we want it to be better than real life.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a good
It
point.
worked
Actually.
out in this case, but so it's kind of just like a fingers crossed. I'm like, I hope this burns for a while, so like we can
Yeah.
get some cool shots. Like I hope it doesn't just like burn and then just tumble down like immediately. And it's like, ah, dang it. Whatever. It's not
Yeah,
what I had. It's not what I had planned, but okay.
good point. And then Eli comes in this big oil patch.
Mhm.
He wants money, and Daniel just beats the shit out of
Oh
him.
my goodness,
I
yeah.
like again. I was like, this guy hates this dude. Like, even though he hates everybody,
Yeah.
and he even says this later in the movie. But why is him like he's okay with everybody knowing that he hates this guy?
I was thinking that too. I'm like, damn, you're doing this like in daylight like that, just
Yeah,
beating this dude's ass. I always wonder what like his workers and like the other people think. Do they respect him? Do they fear him? Is it like out of necessity of like this guy? I've been working with this guy and he pays me well. Like I don't agree with his ways, or and I'll just abide by him because I know I'm gonna get work. Or if it's like, was that a surprise to them? Because they didn't seem that shocked. They weren't like,
yeah,
"Oh man, this is the guy that I'm working for." He just beat his ass. He came back, and they're like, "All right, back to work."
yeah, yeah. I mean, he does say like he basically slaps him up because he's like, what? Like, my son is deaf. You have these healing powers. You know, you can cure this woman of arthritis. Why don't
Mhm.
you heal my son? So I think
Yeah,
he's pissed off about that. So I guess you can maybe like justify that to your workers. But I also think this is if this is actually the only person that he's really being a huge dick to, and he's
mhm.
nice to all of his other workers, then they probably appreciate him.
Yeah, no, that's true. And they probably, to go to what you said too, the him saying that stuff about, "Oh, why didn't you heal my son?" Like they're like, "Oh, okay, he's just a grieving father." So like maybe
Yeah,
they side with them as like, "Okay, we understand his son is." They keep saying sick, but it's not a sickness. He just now
well, they don't
can't.
really know what it
Yeah,
is, I
that's
guess.
true. Yeah, they don't know what it is, but yeah, no, that's a good point though. It probably does lean towards that. Like if he's just nice to everyone, this is like, oh, this is an anomaly. His son
Mhm.
is hurt now, so this is why he's acting up.
Yeah. And then so right after this, Eli jumps Mr. Sunday. So his
Mhm.
dad. I mean, because I was still a little bit confused about like the twins thing.
Yeah,
I was like, is that not his dad, or is
yeah,
like why, like, he's such a dick to him. He's like, you're stupid and you don't know what the hell you're doing. And then like his wife and sisters are like, I get, at this time, women can't really, they're not going to speak up or
yeah.
like fight or anything, but like it's just awkward for them. And then
Mhm.
he like beats the shit out of his dad. And I'm like, is he just taking his anger out on his dad right now? But like
Yeah,
his dad's not even fighting back.
I
He's like,
know.
you calling me stupid and everything? Fuck you.
Yeah, man jumps over the table to beat his
Crazy.
ass. It's just, yeah, that was wild, man. Mad disrespect. I mean, in the dad's defense, he's old,
Yeah.
but still, man, even like verbally, like give some pushback.
Right.
Yeah, not physically, I'm not expecting him to do much, but just to take all that verbal abuse and then also get your ass beat,
That's
crazy,
tough.
man, in front of your wife and daughters.
Ooh, yeah. There's no coming back from that. I mean,
There-
you're right. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I'm not expecting him to go and beat his ass because he's way older than him. But
yeah.
like, he's just calling him stupid. He's not saying anything.
Yeah,
Crazy.
which is wild. And like I don't think the dad was even really being that stupid. Like we don't get a sense of like that they're like dirt poor or anything, but like they're
Hmm.
not like obviously they're not well off. Like I don't know if like I wouldn't even call them middle class or anything like that. It just seems like a kind of like a town that I guess they can't grow anything really. So, but they have their farm. But Daniel, when they're doing the negotiation, like how much money he should get, because that's one thing we didn't talk about too. Like when
Mm.
they're at the table, when he comes and he's like, I'll give you like whatever, like 1,000. Then immediately Eli's like 5,000, and he's like, oh, that's cute. And then he just tries to like,
Yeah.
I'll give you, how about 2,000? He's like 10,000. He's like, yo, chill out over there, man. So it's
Yeah.
just like, they're still offering him a lot of money, but I don't think he's an idiot. It's not like he was like, oh, I'll take 500 for my entire house. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. That is a good point though, and because that not confused me, but that was something that I was like, oh, it interests me that like he came to negotiate with the dad, and Eli started responding to everything.
yeah,
So I was like, oh, is this dad just like, I don't know, like he has no, clearly he has no backbone. Like
yeah.
he's not gonna, because he was even telling Eli, he's like, oh, that's a lot of money, maybe we should take the deal, and then he's like, no, we're not gonna take that stupid deal. Like Eli has all the power in this dynamic. I don't know where that started,
Yeah.
but
And that was another scene too where I was thinking that like, is Eli Paul? Because the
mm,
way he started throwing out numbers, he's like, nah, that's too low. Like I
right,
know I saw you earlier. I know how much you can, like, I'm smart. I know how much you can make. So that was another moment where I was like, oh, okay, so this is Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
But then apparently it's not.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and I was like, it's weird because this isn't even supposed to be like a thing in the movie. Like
Yeah.
it's not an added thing. Like, is this Paul? Is this
Yeah.
not Paul? It's not. But because you have the same actor and you don't make it clear that they're not the same person, it almost adds to the movie in that sense.
And there's not much different in the characters too. It's not like one has
Yeah,
a
not at all.
mustache, like one dresses a little differently, one has different hairstyle, one has like, like one has like bangs or something. Exact same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like a happy coincidence,
Yeah, I
honestly, that
guess
it just
so.
adds a little something to the movie that they didn't intend to do.
He also doesn't call him his twin. I think that's the part that
Right.
makes it. He just
It's
says
just his
brother.
brother.
I'm like, dog, it's your identical twin. You got to mention that.
Yeah.
Don't just say my brother. I'm expecting a dude that's just like another white dude that maybe kind of resembles the same person. I'm not expecting a freaking you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like if for twins, I feel like you almost always have to mention that.
Yeah, my
Like when
twin
you're like my
brother.
twin brother or my twin sister.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they just get annoyed by it. I don't know.
I don't know. Shout out. Yeah, let us know if we have any twin listeners.
Yeah, if any of you is a twin, let us know. That'd be cool to know. And then Henry shows up. So Daniel's brother, supposed brother. What'd you think of him entering the movie? Did you like when he shows up? I was getting some suspicious vibes from him.
Yeah, like when I first saw him show up, I wasn't questioning if he was his brother or not, but I was just, my thoughts were as like, oh, is he just like, I don't know why it would take him so long to realize that his brother's got money, but like, is he just here because like he's down on his luck and he needs some money kind of thing? So like that was my first thoughts. I'm like, okay, this guy, he needs some money and he's trying to hope that he can pull on some heartstrings to like maybe he'll throw him a couple bucks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I assume the same thing. I didn't question if it was his brother. I was basically thinking the same thing.
His intentions, right?
Yeah, this is a super rich guy. He's here for money, but he's not there to steal from him. He wants to work for him.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You go and you're asking your brother for a job. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, definitely not. And the one thing I thought was kind of sus, and it's weird how they just kind of skipped over it, was the fact that like he asked him, "What did you go to jail for?" And one, he doesn't say it, and then he also kind of goes into the fact that like I've done such terrible things, like shouldn't even be mentioned. I'm like, that sounds even worse than you just telling me.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did.
Did you notice too? Right after he says this, he kind of like looks at HW.
Yeah.
So I was like, were you a pedophile or
That's
something?
what I'm saying. Would you kill a kid? That's exactly what I was thinking too. I'm like, yo, there's no going back from that. You get the hell away from me, bro.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you did. You better off lying and telling like, oh, I robbed some people. I stole a lot. Like, okay, and then we move on. You telling me that you don't even want to talk about what you did, and then you look at my son. What the heck?
Yeah.
Did you do?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I definitely wasn't feeling easy, and I wouldn't feel easy if that was. But he lets him sleep in the house with him. He's totally fine. And HW then burns the house down.
Yeah, what did you think about that? I was kind of confused.
I mean, like you said, he reads the diary, but we see that he had like a picture of a woman.
Yeah.
And like an ad for guns.
Yeah.
That doesn't really tell me that much. I mean, I guess maybe like off camera. Like he read through the diary and they didn't show us him reading the whole thing. So maybe he found out that this isn't his brother. And
but why would he burn the place with his dad in the room too?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's why I was confused. I'm like, okay, there's something sus about this guy that he read, and then he started burning. But then I realized that Daniel was in the room too. I'm like, yeah, and you're trying to kill Pops too? You're still mad about I don't even really know why he's really that mad at his dad at that point. We go understand later as things go on, but at that point.
I mean, maybe Daniel is abusive and they just don't show us it yet. Like they show us later on that Daniel's a piece of shit. Like this is kind of the turning point. He becomes a piece of shit from this point on. And when there's the time skip and he's a complete asshole to his son.
Yeah.
So maybe he is being abusive to HW and we just don't see it yet. So HW does have like that internal hatred for him and wants to kill them both.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's a good point. Yeah, maybe.
but I don't know.
That's a good point.
Then Daniel ditches him on the train, does him dirty.
Yeah,
like when this happened, I
wild.
was like, because we were still like, I still think he's a good guy, and then he does that, and I was like, okay,
Yeah, I know.
that's crazy.
It is crazy. And Eloise was like trying to, well, again, she's coming in late, so she's trying to like piece things together. And because like later on when we see him come back and like he was with like the deaf teacher or whatever it is, and she's like, oh wait, so did he just send him off to go to school to learn that stuff? And he just didn't tell him. And I was like, well, it's not that bad. I'm like, well, you could tell him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still like, I don't know if that actually is the case. Like, that's where he ended up being. It wasn't like he just dished him on a train and it's like, all right, get that kid away from me. He brought him somewhere and then ended up being school and everything. But like, that's still messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because we get a little moment of like Daniel's right hand man. I don't know his name. But he asks him. He's like, "Does
Fletcher?
what, sir?
I think his name's Fletcher.
Fletcher? All
yeah,
right,
Fletcher.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he asks. He's like, what's the situation like? He gets HW. He's like, oh, he's in a room with this other boy, and so he does ask about him.
Yeah.
like making sure he's good, and like you said, he is learning sign language and stuff. But just tell him that and say goodbye on the train. Just be like, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna learn it, and say goodbye. You don't have to ditch him.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's wild. It's a
Nasty
wild
work.
move. It just didn't seem necessary to do it like that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Like, I know they're at odds at this moment. Like, they're not the best of friends, but to do your own son, I mean, that's
It's
crazy.
not.
Yeah.
It's not his own son.
Yeah.
He's a
But
bastard orphan. And then we find out that Henry lied. They have this weird scene, like they're in the ocean at the beach. I was like, I feel like that was weird that they just kind of threw that in there.
Yeah, I don't know why they had to be. Yeah, I don't know why they had to be there. We got a cool like transition shot of like how it ends, like when he's like in the water, and then like the water goes over him, and then immediately they're in the next room, and he's just looking at him, and like he's drunk, and I guess they went to go get like hookers or prostitutes or something. I assume that's what that was.
Yeah, because later in the movie when Eli, when Daniel goes to the church and Eli's like slapping him up saying, "You suck, say you abandoned your son, blah blah." One of the things he says is you lust over women, which is ungodly, obviously.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a deleted scene of him and Daniel and Henry with prostitutes.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it's just before this.
Yeah. But going back to that beach scene, it was like a random choice of like scenery, but I thought it was definitely like an interesting scene too, because we get that moment when I don't know exactly what it was that like clicked with Dana, that like I'm suspicious of this guy. Like he mentioned that, like he said that joke twice. He's like, "Oh, maybe we'll get liquored up and go to the Peachtree Dance or whatever."
And he doesn't laugh.
And he's like, "I said." He's like, laugh at my damn joke. I said, maybe
you don't laugh at my joke, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Exactly. I'm gonna repeat this joke until you laugh. We're gonna be here all night, folks, until I gotta laugh out of you.
That's so funny. That's literally what he did. Yeah, that tipped him off. That says it's not his brother somehow.
Like, I don't know if it's like if he was already suspicious, and him saying the Peachtree Dance. Like, I don't know if that's like a thing of like it was like a false place. You know what I mean? If like, because you and me went, just like as an example, went to a school named Sir Will, it'd be like, oh yeah, it'd be like if we went like when we were back at St. Pete's, and then you agreed to be like, we didn't go to St. Pete's.
Yeah.
So like maybe it's the fact that he said the peach, and like he was already suspicious at that point. He said the peach dance, and then he's like, there was no peach dance, and you're agreeing.
It was the cherry bush.
Yeah.
You stupid fool. And you didn't laugh at my joke.
Yeah, exactly. We would never go to the Peachtree Dance. You're not my brother.
And then he kills him. Did that surprise you?
Yeah.
Did you expect that?
I thought he was just gonna confront him like with the gun, like as we saw, and it was just gonna be like a threat, and like get the heck out of here kind of thing. I did not expect him to pop him like that. That shocked me.
Yeah, I mean, did the twist work for you though? When Henry admits, he's like, "No, your brother died, and I stole his story."
Yeah, I don't know if that. Do you believe it?
Yeah, I think so. Why would he lie?
Well, we already know that this guy's done such horrible things that he can't even tell us about. Maybe he killed his brother, and that was a lie.
That's possible.
Because we're just talking about how disgusting this guy is. He possibly a pedophile. Maybe he's killing, robbing people. Is it that against him to kill a man and then steal his identity and then lie about, oh, I was actually friends with him? I don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was questioning if he was even telling the truth or not about that relationship he had with his brother.
Doesn't matter. He's dead now.
It doesn't matter.
Should have laughed at the fucking joke, man. And then Bandy finds him.
Mhm.
That was weird. Like he just woke up and is like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm Bandy. I'm the one you were looking for." I was like, "Okay, that's sure, whatever." And gets him to go to church. This is the one thing that he wants to sell his ranch because he wants to build a pipeline through his property. And then we get the scene with Eli. He gets his get back. He's slapping him in the face.
Oh my goodness.
I've abandoned my child.
Yeah.
This is a cool scene.
No, this was a good scene. And that was a funny thing too, where it's just like he wakes up and he's just like, and you've done like sin. He's like, oh, what, being an oil man's a sin?
Right.
And he pulls out the gun. And I'm like, dog, where did you have the gun? It was just, you killed a man and you don't immediately think, oh, I need to hide this gun. I need to keep it close to me. How did this man just immediately find your kill weapon?
Well, I think he because he buries Henry.
Yeah.
And then I think he just slept right there because he's just sleeping outside. I think he's right beside the grave.
Yeah, but how close is he to that dude's crib? Like, I don't
know.
Yeah, like I'm not even trying to like completely destroy the scene. I was just trying to make sense of it. I'm like, he wakes up, the guy he's looking for is there and has his murder weapon. I'm like, what the heck happened? That just happened so fast. It was just like, whoa.
That is a good point. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
And that was another funny moment too, where I was just like, again, watching this with Eloise, and she didn't see Daniel beat the shit out of Paul. And I was just like, when he's like, I want you to go to church. And I was like, ooh, what this guy doesn't know is that he just beat the shit out of that priest that you want to go to the church to. I'm like, this is going to be awkward. But I rubbed my hands together. I'm like, this is going to be awkward. Let's go. Where are we going here?
And Eli takes full advantage.
Yeah.
He's smacking the sin out of him, I guess.
Yeah,
he should have gummed him. should have gummed him, but he decides to slap him up silly. Tells him to I abandoned my child, and he really just takes this moment to abuse him physically.
Yeah,
but also take advantage of him. I don't know if emotionally is the right word, but like to basically have him tell everyone in the town what he did to his child.
Yeah,
that was nasty work.
Yeah, and it's a mix of both things. To even go back to what we were talking about earlier, it's one, him getting his get back just like on a personal level, just the two of them. It's like, you embarrassed me, you put mud in my face and all that crap. And then also, it's the get back of like the community was starting to push towards you because you were selling them on this dream of oil, of like liquid gold and all this stuff, and like they're believing you. But now I got you coming in here, and now you're admitting all these things, so you could be like, see. The church is what's holding this community together, not this oil man. You see all these terrible things he's done. You got to stay with the church, like that. In that moment, like you got him going on his knees too. It's like, see, the church is here. This is where the oil men are. Don't get it twisted, guys. Like this is the oil guys. They're not better than what the church can do for the community.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Using this moment to discredit the oil man and say, the church is the place to be. That's a really good point. I didn't clock that. I like that. Then we get the time skip.
Yeah.
Or sorry, I skipped a point. HW comes back.
Yeah.
So they're building the pipeline. HW comes back, and then there's like a lunch scene. He's bragging about the pipeline that he's doing in front of these guys that wanted to strike a deal with him earlier. Another scene of Daniel just being a dick. Did you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, no. He got so heated when that guy served the other guys the drink before.
Sure, that was nasty work.
Yeah, just that little thing. But yeah, no, I think it was just the scene was more just about him. At this point, he's become more of a drunk. It seems like he seems a little more, because before he seems pretty like put together. Like he's not the nicest guy, and like he has his moments where he's a little like egregious and stuff like that. But like especially in that scene, he kind of seemed like a power hungry drunk, and he just wanted to embarrass that guy. Like, you feel stupid, don't you? And the guy was like, yeah, I do. And he just he just want to have some his moment, have some comeuppance, I guess, especially based off what he just went through at the church. You need to put someone else down to feel better, I guess.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, my question is like, why is that guy in this town? You already came. You tried to like strike a deal with this guy. He owns all the land around here. Why are you back here just eating lunch in his town?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Like what?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I wish I could tell you.
Okay, then we get the time skip to 1927. HW gets married. Then there's the scene where he comes to meet Daniel at his house, says he's going to Mexico. Daniel tells him that he's an orphan and that he just used him to buy land, shits on him and everything. Like, what'd you think of this scene?
It was intense.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get this scene. I didn't expect to see to come to outright say it, like what that he just used him basically. I thought it was crazy. What would you think?
I mean, it's fully. I mean, kind of like I said, like he was great. I thought he was a great guy right at the start of the movie for most of the movie, and then like he kind of starts going downhill. And then at this scene, you're like, okay, this guy is irredeemable. Like this guy is fucking horrible. This is his adopted son, even though it's not your real son. This was your adopted son for years. Like you don't grow any love for this kid at all. Like that's insane.
No, 100%. Yeah, you raised him.
Yeah, you raised him 100%. Like, you just making fun of his disability and just chewing out the dude that's what's crazy, like his translator, like Daniel's roasting his translator, but the translator has to say that to HW, so he's like roasting himself in sign language almost, like just poor guy.
I almost wonder as a translator if it's just like you change it up a little bit. Just like, okay, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not doing all that. I'll lighten it down. That part of me wants to believe. I don't know sign language, so I don't know if that was even happening. So like one of these things where it's just like, tell him he's a freaking idiot. He's just like, well, he just doesn't think you're intelligent.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like you make it, you damper it down a little bit. You don't get as vulgar.
Yeah, he says he loves you very much.
Yeah, but you know, he just takes it.
I liked the HW what he says back to him, and he says it like out loud because he forces him to actually speak. So he says, he's like, no, you're not. You're an orphan. You know, I'm not actually your father. And he says, thank God I have none of you in me. That's also, it's almost like a moment of relief for him. It's supposed to be like a, you idiot, I'm not your father. You don't, you know, you're trash. You're an orphan. He's almost relieved. He's like, thank God you suck.
Yeah. Which is crazy too, because it's just like we've really, at this point, we've really seen the turn. You know what I mean? Like he's at this point, he was always kind of like, we could see that he has like greed and like well, yeah, we just see that he has a lot of greed and stuff like that. But at this point, his son's telling him that like, I don't even want to compete with you. I'm going to another place. I'm going to Mexico. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, so now you're my competitor. It's like, what? Like, I'm going to a whole different place now to find for oil. He's like, no, I see what you're doing. Like, you're coming after me. It's just like, all right, dog. Like, I'm coming to you and letting you know what the deal is. You know what I mean? I'm not just popping up on the scene and you're going to find in the paper there's a new oil guy in town that's taking up the whole world or whatever. It's just like, I'm telling you, I'm going to a different place. And he's just immediately like, so now you're my competitor. I'm like, all right.
Which is wild because like he has this giant mansion. He's all alone. He's drunk all the time. Like he doesn't need more money. Who cares if you have a competitor? You've won.
Yeah.
Like, you did it.
100%.
And you're right. HW doesn't have to come and tell him that. He could have just done it.
Yeah, which is even surprising he did it in the first place. Like we don't know everything that happened in those like I think it's like 25-year like jump. It was like it was 1902 and then it was like 1927.
But I mean, that's 1902 is when they start the thing. So like the events of the movie, I don't know how long that is when how long HW's gone for. But when he comes back, he's still the same actor, so it's not like it's been years. So I assume it's a decent jump.
Yeah, but either way, we don't know what the relationship. But the fact that he still had that respect for him, which is interesting, just based off like we kind of assume that they were on a bad terms, but I mean, now they definitely are.
Yeah. Now he just all right. I don't even have to see you again. You're not even my dad. Perfect.
Yeah.
Then we get the final scene in the bowling alley. Hit me. What are your thoughts?
Wild ending. Like I didn't know what to expect. Again, we got more back and forth. Again, it was two things of like the personal level, and then it was also like I think just in Daniel's nature, he wanted to get back at Eli, but then he also wanted to get back at just like my business versus your business. He's like, say that you're like that you're just like you're
false prophet.
Yeah, say you're a false prophet. And then what is it? A false prophet and God is what? God is a
faker. Yeah, I don't remember the exact.
I can't remember the exact words, but yeah, so just like you're just trying to get him to say it over and over. You're just like him trying to get his back. Oh, God is a superstition. That's what it was.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'm a false prophet and God is a superstition. I keep saying it over and over and over. And I didn't think he was gonna say it. But I was like, damn, like, I guess the money really talks. Like Eli is really down bad, and he's really, which makes me think. I don't know how do you feel about it? Do you not necessarily think Eli's a false prophet, but like, do you think he kind of like is somewhere in the middle? Do you think he's shady? Like overall, like what do you think of like Eli? Did this scene tell you something more about Eli that you didn't know already, or?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like you said with like the arthritis thing, when he's saying, "No, I'm getting rid of these demons. I'm going to cure arthritis." Like that's just not true.
Mhm.
And like if that's what he's telling people that he's going to do, then he is a false prophet.
Yeah.
And God being a superstition, that's that's a religious belief.
Yeah.
That's something that is not really debatable. It's just
Mhm.
whether someone believes it or not, and that's Daniel's point of view. But
Yeah.
the false prophet thing is true. Like
Yeah.
he's telling people he can do all these things and he can't. Like you
Mhm.
said, he's just preaching the word of God. That's all he can do.
Yeah.
And then he physically gets his ass beat and dies. So I was like, and that doesn't change anything. I didn't expect anything different necessarily from him. I mean, he should have fought back a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't think it told me anything that I didn't know about him.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, that was another thing I took away from the scene too. I was like, this guy is pissed drunk. You woke him up from his face and steak and potatoes, in a bowling alley, and you're just letting him beat the shit out of you. I feel like you could. He one could have fought back or got the heck out of there. And I mean,
Mhm.
Eloise was sitting next to me questioning that too. And I was like, he needs this guy's money though. So like he doesn't want to leave empty handed. I think
Right.
he's still trying to tell him, like, because he's kind of telling me, "Yo, calm down, like let's figure this out." Like, because at the end of the day, he still needs the money. And in the end, he didn't get the money.
No. Well, no, he didn't get the money.
Yeah.
But what I liked about this scene a lot too was kind of the power shift. Like, so it starts out, like you said, Daniel's pissed drunk, asleep. So he's coming in down here. He seems like he's vulnerable and easily in a position to be manipulated to take
Yeah.
this money.
Mhm.
And Eli comes in and he has all the swagger, right? He's pouring himself a drink and he's coming in talking like he owns the place. Because he's like, yeah, I have this field and I'm gonna let you buy the brandy tract.
Yeah.
You can get all the oil from there. Like he feels like he's in the position of power and he's carrying himself like he is, which I really thought was interesting.
Mhm.
And then Daniel just buries him. And
Yeah.
like the power completely shifts to Daniel when he says, "No, I've already drained all the oil from those fields. You think you got position on me? All the oil flows out. I've already been drilling there. Like
Yeah.
I don't, because he comes in, he's like, I want this much money. I want this. And Daniel's like, okay, yeah, that seems fair. Like he's just agreeing with him.
Yeah.
And he feels like the biggest boss. And then Daniel's like, joke's on you. I already have all the oil. I don't give a fuck. And then he, like you said, he makes him, or before he tells him that he has the oil, he makes him do the false prophet thing,
Yeah.
makes him denounce his faith, just like slaps him up. This is basically what Eli did to him in the church,
Mhm.
right? It's not public, right? So he's not, the point that you made about the church is right. They're saying to the public, oil man sucks, come to the church.
Yeah.
So it's not a public thing, but Daniel doesn't really care about that. He cares
Yeah.
about for himself. He wants
Mhm.
to hear you say, denounce your faith, say, God is fake, you're a false prophet,
Yeah.
just to really shit on him and do back to him what Eli did to him in the church earlier in the movie.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that it definitely was powerful for that of just, and it also shows you too, because Eli mentioned, you mentioned earlier how, like, not Eli, sorry, Daniel mentioned earlier how he's like, he doesn't care for people, you know, he doesn't care. So like that makes sense why he wouldn't even really care about, even if there was a crowd, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he just would want him to say that just for him. He's like, I
exactly.
just for me, I don't really care what people think. I don't really like people that much, but I need you to know that I have power over you. And then he goes to the whole like the I drink your milkshake
Yeah.
little monologue thing explaining it to
There,
him.
there was a cool a fact about this. So that milkshake thing it was actually paraphrased
Mhm.
from the investigation into the real Teapot Dome scandal. It was called
Okay.
from the 1920s, where the government took bribes from private oil companies to sell them oil filled lands at low rates with no competitive bidding. So like in real life, there was people taking bribes. They looked into this, and the PTA said basically the word milkshake was in the investigation in the files, and that like jumped out at him.
Oh,
So he
so
worked it into the
yeah,
into the
that's
movie.
sick. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's cool. Again, yeah, him doing heavy research on it and like with all that stuff. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I like the
my
little touch.
straw reaches all the way across, and I'm drinking from your milkshake. Because I thought it was kind of weird in the moment, but then I read that and it was like, that's actually from real life. Crazy.
Yeah. Because they're like, why milkshake? I was like,
Yeah,
that it was it was very specific using the word milkshake. I was like, okay, you're just talking about a drink and then taking over. It's just him. I felt maybe it was, at first I was thinking it was like it's like a childish analogy just because he's just making fun of him. He's
he's
like,
bitching him.
let's say we're drinking milkshakes.
Yeah,
I drink your milkshake, just like it's being extra of a dick. But no, it's interesting that it was actually based off like real life stuff. That's cool.
yeah. Well, we're at the end of the movie, so do you have any more facts or anything else that?
I think we kind of no, I kind of like I did see that milkshake thing, but I didn't realize that it was like there was that much to it. So you had more than I on that. I guess the only other thing that I had was we also talked about the book, and
Mhm.
apparently he only really used like the first 150 pages inspiration, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of interesting. But
yeah,
besides that, yeah,
yeah. I mean, like I said, there's so much more in the book.
yeah.
And I mentioned kind of the things that they left out of the movie, which makes sense.
Hmm.
And actually, another little thing about the book, apparently, so Paul Thomas Anderson, he only read the book because he was in London
Hmm.
and he was homesick. So he was drawn to the cover of California Oil Fields. He saw the cover and he was homesick, so that's what got him to read the book. Apparently,
Interesting.
yeah,
He's a California boy. Or just Boogie Nights is in California. This is California. Punch Drunk Loves California.
yeah. There you
Him
go.
and Tarantino. That's why they're boys, yo. Two Cali boys making
Is
movies in
Tarantino from
Cali.
California too? I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
that. Okay,
And once,
L.A. or I
one-
don't know.
I think so. Once upon a time in Hollywood, that was like he loves. That's why he loved the movie so much. Got to
Huh.
make it all about Hollywood around the time that he probably grew up in, or around that time. But
Yeah.
that's interesting. Though I guess I did find something another interesting fact was just that apparently Daniel Day-Lewis actually did get injured on set, like while they were shooting.
Mm.
Like he suffered a minor injury while he was like working on the oil rig set, and I thought that was kind of funny too. Like when I first read it, I was just like, I know this guy's like a heavy method acting. Like I don't think he hurt himself, but like I almost feel like he was so deep in that method acting, he just pretended like he was still hurt. Offset people like, oh, is he really hurt? And he's just constantly method acting, even about his
So he
hurt leg.
wasn't actually hurt, but it was
That's just my thought. Just because I know how deep this guy gets. Like I
yeah,
said, the guy left because he was so intense. Like I don't know. I feel like when I first read it, I'm like, I don't even believe that. This guy's so
yeah.
crazy with his method acting.
I mean, I did notice throughout the movie that because right at the start when he falls off the ladder, right, and breaks his leg.
Mhm.
So throughout the movie, you can see him like limping a
limp.
little bit. So you're right. Maybe just walking around set, he was just constantly limping. So like, oh, I guess maybe he did hurt his leg.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's the only other thing that I have is just it's just for based off like because PTA like Paul Thomas Anderson, he has a new movie coming out actually this year too, and it's with Leo. I don't know if you saw that.
I don't think so.
It's supposed to come out in September. It's called One Battle After Another. And it's like it's a thriller, which I thought was kind of interesting because a lot of his movies are very like drama or like psychological kind of drama thing. So like to see him doing a thriller, like the only like thing that it says for the movie is like it's like when their evil enemy resurfaces after 16 years, a group of ex revolutionaries reunite to rescue one of their own daughters. And when I first read that, I was like, okay, whatever. But like I saw that Leo's the main character. I'm like, all right. I feel like at this point, especially in Leo's career, it's like he's not doing anything unless like the script is good or like it seems kind of
Yeah.
interesting. And PTA, I've only seen like 3 of his movies at this time. At this point, I like them all. Like I saw Boogie Nights, I saw Punch Drunk Love. This is the third one I've seen. I like this one the most, but I'm interested because so far I've liked all his films.
Yeah. Hey,
So I'm excited. I'm excited to
Yeah,
see that.
that interests me. I'm surprised I didn't hear about it. Oh well. I'm interested for when the time comes. We'll check it out. Maybe we'll do it on the podcast.
Yeah. What about you? You got anything else?
No, I'm good. So let's get into the
It's that
filmies.
time. Yes, it's that time of the show. It's time for the filmies. And if you're new to the show, Scott mentioned it earlier. It's the part of the show where we give out 6 awards to the movie we just watched. And he doesn't know what I picked, and I don't know what he picked. So if we do get the same thing, we do deem it as certified. For those that don't know what that is, because they might happen and they're like, what the heck was that? So
Yeah.
with that being said, our first award we have is our Ferris Bueller Award. So our Ferris Bueller Award, I think we kind of mentioned it as we were talking about it. It's our lazy award. And so basically it's an award that can go to the director, to the writer, actor, anybody on set that we deemed was lazy or had a lazy moment, and we just wanted to point it out. It's nothing crazy that we think that could ruin the movie or anything. It's just usually something that we thought was funny that we wanted to point out. So Scott, who gets your Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, this was tough. This was tough for me. I didn't find a lot of laziness going on.
Yeah.
But, so I ended up giving it to Daniel.
Okay.
Our main character. So when he wants to build the pipeline, and Al, who's like the real estate guy, tells him he doesn't own the Bandy's track, and he gets mad at him, and he's like, "Oh, I'll go talk to them myself. I'll show you how it's done, whatever." But earlier on, Al told him originally, he's like, "There's one holdout. It's the Bandy track."
Yeah.
And he doesn't go out and talk to him. He's too lazy to go talk to him. He's like, just leave him. He'll come around. So to be at the beginning, you could have gone and talked to him, and you were just too lazy to do it. And now you're so like, I'll go do it. I'll show you how it's done. He told you, bro. Whatever.
No, that's a good one. That is a good one. I struggled too. Like I completely forgot about that. And if I remembered that, I probably would have gave that Ferris Bueller too, because it's just like, yeah, you make a good point. It's just like, dog, like you held out on not going to talk to the dude, and now you're acting all pissy about like, I'm gonna do it myself. It's like, well, you didn't want to do it before anyway. Like you told us not to worry about it. So it's just like
you were too lazy to go talk to him. So that's why he gets my Ferris.
That's good. I like that. I actually legit figured out a Ferris Bueller like maybe like an hour before we started recording this, because I was really struggling. I was like,
it's tough, yeah.
Because there's not that many lazy moments or anything. I felt anything that would be lazy. But then the last thing was very glaring as I was watching the final scene. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give it to Paul Thomas Anderson for the fact that, like I mentioned, this is 25 years later, and Eli has not aged a single day. You didn't give him no stubble, no mustache, no nothing. This guy is now in the year 2020, not 2020, 1927. And we saw him in 1902. This man looks the exact same. Daniel Day-Lewis' character looks different. The son is a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
And the daughter's grown, and Eli looks the exact same. So I'm giving it to Paul Thomas Anderson for not saying that, like, maybe we should give this guy a mustache, even if it's like a fake mustache. Give him a different haircut, something. You didn't get any different.
That's a good point. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. There's not a lot of laziness going, not a lot of holes for us to poke, but that's a good one.
I had to give it to that.
Totally makes sense,
especially based off the fact that like we were so confused because we couldn't tell the difference between this guy and his twin. Now we can't tell the difference between him 25 years later in his life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I had to give it to PTA for that. I like it. The next thing we have is our fit check. So pretty self-explanatory. We've done it before. So who gets your worst or your best, or your best or your worst fit?
I got my best fit. I gave it to Eli.
Okay.
And it's when he gets his ass beat from Daniel. So like there's a shot. Yeah. So we see him walking down towards it, and there's even a face-on shot of him, and he's got a black suit, black vest with like a gray shirt underneath. It looked like Batman. He was he was sick.
Yeah.
I mean, he proceeded to get washed, but he looked cool.
No, he did look cool. No, that's good. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because I also gave my fit check to Eli. It's not for that, but it's also it's from the last scene, which is funny that both of our favorite scenes for favorite fit checks are in a scene where this guy gets his ass. Well, my guy he dies.
Yeah, you're
right. He gets his ass beat in his fits. So that's kind of funny. That's our one connection. But
hey, look good, play well, play good.
Yeah,
not
true.
for Eli.
Yeah, not for Eli.
Well, yeah,
look
good,
get
Sanders?
Your
ass beat.
Yeah, the Deion Sanders thing is like, you look good, you play good, they pay good. Yeah, he was hoping he was going to get paid good. He didn't get paid good.
Didn't work out for Eli.
Didn't work out for Eli. But me, it was his the suit he was rocking at the end. It's just like a classic 3-piece suit. It was all black suit. He got but the thing that to me that stood out about it was just the The rosary. Well, it wasn't a rosary. It was just a cross.
It was just a cross.
Yeah, it was just a cross, and it was just uptight. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a low hanging one. I just like the way it was sitting on top of the tie. I just thought it looked fresh. He was just looking so dapper in that moment. Didn't end up good for him, but just wanted to give him some love for just looking dapper, because everyone throughout the movie is like either they're a worker or like Daniel had some fits of just him dressing up, but like nothing really stood out to me. But it was the cross on top of the suit that I thought was just looked fresh in that moment. He was looking dapper. And so I wanted to give Eli some love. You got double love from us for 2 different fits.
Yeah, no, I like it. He was you're right, he looked good. And like I was mentioning, when he enters the scene, he has all the juice, all the power. So he comes in like chest out, feeling nice with the cross on his chest. Feels good. He ends up getting destroyed, but looked good.
No, you did look good. Our next award that we have is quote, our favorite quote. So what was your favorite quote from the movie, Scott?
Mine's in a short scene with Daniel and Henry.
Okay.
So it's Daniel talking to Henry. He says, "I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed. I hate most people. At times, I look at people and see nothing worth liking." And like, to me, this was the turning point in the depiction of his character. I talked about like, I think he's always been a piece of shit, but they don't show us him as a piece of shit until this point. He comes out and says it. He's like, everybody sucks. I hate everybody. I'm the world's #1 hater. Like, he literally says, I want no one else to succeed. Crazy. But so I thought it was a big turning point, because right after this is when he ditches HW on the train and kills Henry.
Yeah.
So 2 big moments where like, okay, yeah, this guy fucking sucks. This is after this quote. So I thought it was a big turning point. He just stops hiding it that he's a piece of shit, and I thought it was cool.
No, that's a good quote. And again, we're with this. I also gave my quote to Daniel. Different quote though, but that is a really good quote too, and it's for similar reasons too, because it's like it's I mean, it's usually about these kind of things, especially in this kind of movie. It's just like what you see from this character. And to me, I mentioned it earlier, it's that speech that he gives. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a long speech, but I'm just going to read the first bit of it, where it's, "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daniel Plainview. This is my son and partner, H.W. Plainview. And if I say I'm an oil man, you will agree. I have many years of experience in this field. I run a family business, and this makes me different from other men." And then he goes on. And to me, I liked it when he said it a second time, because once he said it a second time, I was like, oh, okay, like, this is showing like this is like, because the way when we see it the first time, you assume that I was like, okay, this feels like a heartfelt speech. And that's always the thing too, when you realize that the manipulation, because if you just do a speech and it just sounds like very like point, you're talking about, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, da da da, blah blah blah, and you just keep repeating the speech, it's fine. But when you come at it in a way of just like you're trying to seem like you're heartfelt, it's almost like you take off your hat. It's like, I'm just a simple man. Like, I'm just an oil man. I want to help you. Like, when you say it like with that kind of cadence, but it's something that you say all the time, it's not, you realize in that moment, you're like, oh, this isn't actually heartfelt. You just got it narrowed down, and you have your talking points of like, this is gonna touch them. I know, like, it's not like you're in the moment. You're like, you know what? I see that lady over there, and then you say something that actually connects with the people. It doesn't even matter who's in front of you. You can be talking to a mirror, you can be talking to a wall, you can be talking to anybody. You can say the exact same thing and have this exact same cadence, and it's just so false. And it's like, in that moment, it just shows that, oh, this guy's manipulative, and he's really good at concealing like how ruthless he is for his ambitions to take this land. But he needs to have these people believe that he's a good guy. And I just liked how when we heard it the second time, that's when you kind of get the sense of like, oh, okay, there's a little more to this guy. That was the first time I was kind of like, okay, maybe he isn't actually this caring guy.
This genuine. Yeah, because it's basically, what can I say that's not genuine to make them feel like I am genuine?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. He practiced it. He probably has gone through different iterations, like, oh, I'm going to tweak this a little bit so that next time it's perfect. And then he's got it down to a science. He's like, okay, if I say this, they're all going to respect me and think that I'm genuine, even though I'm totally not.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think that the thing that to me that really connected it for me, that was that the ultimate manipulation is the fact that he mentions like he'll always have to have HW sitting there. And I think that's a big point of his speech where he says like, I run a family business. Here is my partner. It's almost like cute. My partner
Right.
is this little kid. You know what I mean? It's like, he's not actually your partner. He's like your son, and you bring him around as a freaking mascot, basically, to show like, hey, I'm a father. You're not really a father. It's not actually your kid, and you don't really treat him as such. So I thought that's like a real like big tipping point of like his showing the manipulation as you see him do the speech a second time. It's just like, and here's my mascot that who I say is
My mascot.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean he literally says it to HW in that final scene with him at his house after the time skip. He says,
Yeah.
"You were just a kid I brought with me so I could buy oil land."
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's wild. But yeah, that's
And
my
the rest of the speech is good too.
no,
So
yeah.
I like it. It's a good quote.
I appreciate it. Our next award we have is our 6-man, aka our Nas Reed Award. So someone that we thought showed out in a small role, or we just thought they weren't like one of the main uh, parts of the movie, like director, writer, or whatever it is, or one of the main characters. We thought they deserved some love. So Scott, who gets your 6-man?
I gave it to Robert Elswit, who's the
Okay.
cinematographer. I talked about a lot of the shots that I liked.
Yeah.
Daniel sitting in front of that window. All the dark. There's a lot of dark scenes with
Yeah.
like a glow of fire, and that's kind of a cheat code that always looks cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it just this movie looks good.
Yeah.
And I thought about giving it to like Paul Dano for his early scene.
Yeah.
Like I said, like he has that small scene and he's really good in that small
Yeah.
scene. But then he is also Eli for the rest of the movie, so I couldn't give him my 6
Yeah.
man.
No, that's fair. I was thinking about that too because I think he was really excellent in there too. So I was like, but he's in there too much. But
Yeah.
I actually debated about giving to the cinematographer too. That's a great pick. I 100% agree. It's very well deserved.
Well, who'd you give it to then?
I ended up giving it to Johnny Greenwood. There's another thing we talked about. It's the composer of the movie.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so like I actually wrote down specific songs too, like the names of the songs. Like one of the first one I had is like Open Spaces. So like this, it's a scene where it's a very quick scene, and to me it's just like what he did in this movie was like a mix of like because we talked about how like the tension building songs, and one of them this wasn't a tension building one, but it was just it's a kind of score that because this movie, I think it's in the category of like an epic. You know what I mean? Like if you watch this in a theater, the just the way the music like compiles, like when they're just initially coming into the little Boston town and they're driving, you just get the landscape shot of
Oh,
them
yeah.
like driving in, you seeing the town. Again, we're talking about this like the patient filmmaking and everything like that. And I thought that was really good. And then also like during the fire too. There was like it was like the really like high tension, like ding 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 ding, like it was, like the way the music was going, just like oh snap, like because part of me like in that moment you're like this is a good thing they struck oil but now there's a fire. I'm like and you're on edge like okay what's gonna happen, like is this like a good thing, like is someone gonna die, like someone like we saw that what already happened to HW, like is it gonna get worse, you know what I mean, like you're locked in. I thought the music really added the tension to that scene. And then the final one, which was another one that really stood out to me, was that scene on the beach where it's like when he finally like says the joke that he didn't laugh at, and then like the tension's building there. We see him kind of like looking at him, and that music continues as like they're at like I guess they're at a brothel or whatever it is. And I just thought, yeah, I thought the music in the movie just added so much to the movie. So I wanted to give him some love for that.
Yeah, no, I know it stood out to me. Like that's
Yeah.
why I noted it down and I mentioned, like the use of tension building and then kind of like subverting expectations and not having something crazy
Yeah.
happen. But that also you can't have that if the music isn't good
Yeah.
and it bangs. So I like that. And you mentioned the explosion scene and something I just thought of too. Was there because every time they're drilling, there's a guy down there, right?
Yeah.
Was there a guy down there when it
Oh,
like did he
God.
just get obliterated?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. It's a
If
tough,
that's the case, that guy
dangerous
just
job.
ceased to exist.
Oh
Like,
my goodness, yeah.
oh my God, that poor guy.
It's a tough job, man.
Yeah.
But our next award, second last one, is we have best scene. So what was your favorite scene in the movie?
I give it to the final scene in the bowling
Okay.
alley. Daniel Day-Lewis and Dano are both great in that
Yeah.
scene. So you don't talk about patient filmmaking. It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a long scene of him. these two assholes strong arming each other.
Yeah.
Like they're like Dano comes in, he's like, yeah, you're gonna buy my land and you're gonna do this and this is what's gonna happen. And then Daniel says, no, I already got the oil, so you're gonna fucking tell me that you're a false prophet and I'm gonna bitch you and then I'm gonna kill you. And just like the power shift and the everything that we talked about it all through and through. It's a great scene. It was my favorite.
No, it's a really great scene. I actually, I feel like I keep saying this with every word, but it's actually true. Like I was balancing between the scene I actually picked and that scene. I was like, I really like these scenes for like specific reasons, but I'm glad you picked it because like I mean, we already talked about it too, like why we enjoyed that scene, but it's also great for you to give it an award because I think it was great. Scene. Yeah, it was a good scene. Mine was the scene when we get the final confrontation between HW and Daniel. So like when he actually just like rips into him. Because like now this is where we get the full heel turn, to bring in some wrestling terms. Like, before we were kind of on edge. We're like, I don't know about this guy. Like he has his faults, whatever. But he completely comes out as just being a complete jerk. And he's just screaming at him, telling him like, you're not like, they're telling him you're an orphan, a bastard in a basket. It's crazy. That's crazy, man. Like he just straight up just dug into him. And it was just like, I really enjoyed that scene because I didn't expect it, first of all. I always kind of thought he was going to kind of stay somewhat buttoned up and not really like show his true emotions. Like he felt like a guy that's just like, I'm sitting with these emotions. Like when he talked to his brother, we get that sense of like, oh, I don't like people. And that's all we're going to get. But for him to actually rip into his son and then tell him the truth and all that, especially in that way, and then just keep screaming, you're a bastard in a basket as he's walking out, which again, he can't hear. The interpreter can hear. He's not interpreting.
I was gonna say, is he just
you
like,
imagine?
You're by the way.
Yeah, I don't even know how you do bastard in a basket. Like I don't know.
Just middle finger and the baby and the baby, like rock the baby.
Rock the baby, man. Westbrook. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's crazy.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene. It's just ruthless. It's just it's crazy. Man. And if the final scene wasn't going to be my best scene, it probably would have been that one too. So like we probably were balancing the same two in a basket. Basket. It's a great scene. It's a great scene. And Daniel Day-Lewis is killing it. He's just
100%.
He's great.
And last but not least, we have our MVP. So Scott, who gets your MVP for the movie?
Well, I just said it, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay.
He kills every part of this movie, but like that scene, he's incredible. The final scene, my favorite scene, he's incredible. The part was written for him, like you said. PTA had him in mind. Your favorite quote as well, like his whole speech.
Yeah.
Apparently he improvised that. Like
really?
Probably not the first section, like you said, that he says twice.
Yeah.
But after that, when he's talking about schools and agriculture and bread, apparently that was just him talking.
Oh, damn.
And it's great.
No, it really is.
And it's if that's him, then I give the credit to him for that. And my favorite scene is him going crazy. I mean, he's in basically every scene of this movie, but that's another reason where he's the most valuable player for this movie.
No, 100% well deserved. And it's because like you said, he is majority, like the movie is all centered around him. You know what I mean? So like if he's not giving you a strong performance, the movie doesn't hold true to being.
I have abandoned my child. I have abandoned my child.
No,
he was going for it, man.
He was going for it too. And it's funny, like that little, like the accent that he kind of stuck with. Like apparently he took I saw that he got that inspiration from like an old like director from like the 20s or whatever. He was inspired by this old filmmaker. I forget his name. Something Houston. But
I think I saw that too. PTA sent him
John
some
Houston.
Files to,
John Houston, and he's just like he liked the way that guy sounded, so and it was like sounded like old fashioned, so and like authoritative. So he's like, I'm gonna use that voice because he doesn't sound like that, and like it was a compelling voice. He sounded so different than everyone else because it's not like everyone kind of talks like all like kind of uppity in that tone and stuff like that, but he had that specific tone that had him really stand out. I think he would have stood out without that anyway, but
it fit like the physical appearance of his character too. Right? He's got the mustache and he always has this like brooding look, like his eyebrows are up, but he's like He's always like, I don't even know how to explain that facial expression.
Yeah, I
But
don't know. It's
great.
smarmy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
What is smarmy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is
I
that
know
even
that's
a word?
it is a word, but I
Oh,
don't
is
even
it?
really know if it fits that.
Hey, let's
that
go.
way.
That smarmy ass look.
Okay, yeah.
He's always like, yeah, like it's like a half frown almost, but like
Yeah, I don't know
with a
what it
smile
is.
on his face. Yeah,
It works though.
it just drips out like arrogance.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
100%. It works though.
yeah.
It really works. It's a great pick. I like that MVP.
I'm
I didn't
guessing
go.
that he wasn't
Yeah, I
yours.
know.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I wanted to give it to him too, but I also was. I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, I was gonna pick that, but I didn't. It's like, what does that do? Whatever.
Just what's your pick, man?
Yeah, exactly. My pick was Thomas. It wasn't Thomas. Paul Thomas
Thomas
Anderson,
Paul
PTA.
Anderson. No, okay.
I throughout the movie, I kind of gave him some praise for it. I talked about the patient filmmaking. I thought it was like we talked about the shots too. Again, it's always tough too, and like you go with like you love the cinematography. It's a mix because you always kind of got to do your research. I'm like, well, how much input did he have on the shots? You know what I mean? And then him and obviously the DP work together. It's like, or the DP just comes up and like, oh, I think we should do this. And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. Or if it's very much like, I want these shots. Can you make it happen?
Yeah.
Either way, it's a collaborative effort, but it's whatever. You give your credit how you give it. So I'm going to give him credit for that. And then, yeah, it's the interesting thoughts with the dialogue. It's the style that, again, I mentioned earlier. I don't think it's completely gone. I think it's just a specific kind of filmmaking that gets more leeway with like certain kind of directors. Like you get like your Nolans and your Tarantinos can do that. Ridley can do that. You know what I mean? Scorsese, like they'll let you like no studio's gonna be like, maybe you pick up the pace. They're not gonna tell you that. You do whatever you want to do. You're established. I feel like the most recent movie that I've seen that is Nosferatu was really good for that. Having like really patient filmmaking. That's the most recent thing I've probably seen from it. And it's something that also this movie shares with Nosferatu is like the realism that you get with a lot of the natural film, like sorry, not natural film, sorry, the natural lighting. So they use it. Obviously, they use some like their own lighting in specific scenes where you have to, but they tried to as much, like you said, stuff like with the fire, to use as much natural lighting as possible, and it just gives you that like cool, authentic look that you get throughout the movie. And I just thought it was a good choice.
Yeah. No, I like that too. And the direction was great. This, like the physical acting, like it's not an action movie by any means, but there's a lot of moving parts. Like a lot of people, it's not just people sitting down talking. Like when they're fighting and like when Eli's beating Daniel's ass and Daniel's beating his ass and stuff. Like this is all. I mean, the actors are doing it, but it's part of direction.
No, for sure.
He also wrote the screenplay.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite parts, like I said, was the depiction of Daniel. Like, I think he's been a piece of shit throughout this whole time. But the way that they show it to us, and they only give it to us in like small pieces at the beginning to be like, maybe he sucks, but maybe he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And then they totally show us like, no, this guy fucking sucks. But like the way that they was expertly threw in little hints throughout the movie, I thought it was well crafted, really well written too. So good pick.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, both of them are Daniel Day-Lewis, PTA. Like it's just overall, great film. Do you have any other final thoughts?
No, great movie. Yeah. Hey, another good pick from the family.
Yeah, man.
On the March Madness,
the real March Madness. Yeah.
The real March Madness. It came out of drama. Good pick, everybody. Well, the basketball. Have you watched any of it? Like it's going on as we speak.
I've been watching a couple of games.
Hasn't been too crazy.
I didn't actually do a bracket this year. I don't know if you did.
Really?
Yeah,
I did a bracket.
No, I didn't.
Why not? I always just do it.
I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't this year.
That's
not because I wasn't into it or anything. I was just kind of I kind of forgot, and I was like, okay, it already kind of started, and I was like, you can still make one. Doesn't matter. I like as the first game was going. It's not like I'm putting my money into it now. I'm gonna get my money. I was like, I can still make one for fun. I could still make one for fun if I wanted to. But
yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I always throw it into those like those money contests.
Oh yeah. Where
it's like
if you win,
if you get the best one, you get $25,000 or whatever. And I'm just like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's I mean, it's so random. You never know what you're gonna get, but like
for sure,
my bracket is toast. Just for anyone that was wondering, it's toast.
That's one of those things too, where like I don't even bother watching those analysis things because like I'll listen to a thing and they'll be like, oh man, like I was watching a couple dudes, they're saying they got to watch out for this team. I'm like, it's a one and done game. Like it doesn't. I don't care if a team went undefeated, they can lose. Like literally, there could be a game where like it happened last year. A guy hits 10 threes. Where it's like, this is crazy. Like that can happen. Like it
happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, there's nothing no analyst can tell me. I don't care.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's no single ESPN expert has made a perfect bracket or anything, and their brackets could be great, they could be shit. They literally, you have like my brother texted me yesterday. He had his girlfriend made one randomly and got like 28 out of 32 of the first round. I'm like, she doesn't even watch basketball. She doesn't know anything about the tournament. You just randomly make picks, and like there's no science to it. It's
100%. If it was series, madness. If it was best of 3. Then there's something that there's game planning, you structure, but it's just like one game, one guy gets hot, anything can happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for checking us out. If this was your first episode, hopefully you stick around. You can join the family discussion, family gathering, family.
We'll figure out
family meeting, whatever. Well, that's only on Instagram, but we're also on TikTok and YouTube at the Film Room Pod. You can reach out to us for whatever. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review because this is 5-star content.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
We really appreciate it. If you leave a written review, we'll give you a shout out on the podcast. We always like to hear from you guys and include you guys in the conversation. And other than that, next week we got District 9.
Yeah, District 9.
The loser in the finals of the real March Madness. So be prepared for that. And over to Dion to send us home.
And remember, guys, when you join the film family, you really are part of this family. We might call you bro. We might call you sis. We might call you uncle, maybe even auntie. What we definitely won't call you is a bastard in a basket.
Never.
Never. Unless you give us a 4-star rating. But no, just kidding. Peace out.
Peace.